Today we're going to try to understand division with decimal divisors by using our knowledge of fractions. So I know that every fraction is a division problem, therefore every division problem can be written as a fraction. So I'm going to take my first problem, 15 divided by 2.5, and I'm going to write it as a fraction. Okay, and that would be 15 over 2.5. Now, that looks a little wonky. We're not used to seeing decimals in our fractions. So I'm going to try and think, what can I do to fix that so that it looks like something I'm used to seeing? And I know that if I multiply a number by a power of 10, 10, 100, 1,000, I just move the decimal point the number of places to the right that I have zeros in my power of 10. So to make it a little easier to understand, if I multiply this fraction by 10 over 10, which is 1, right? Because anytime numerator and denominator are the same, a fraction is equal to 1. So I'm not changing the value. But look what happens. I end up with 150 over 25. That looks more like a normal fraction. It's improper, but it doesn't have any decimal points in it, and it's something that I'm used to seeing. And it's totally legitimate because all I did was multiply by one whole. And so let's see what happens if I compare my original problem, which was 15 divided by 2.5, and that I know is equivalent to 150 divided by 25. Do you see the relationship here? Do you see what happened? When I use the fractions and multiply by 10 over 10, it's the same as just moving the decimal point one place to the right. Now, whatever I do in fraction form, whatever I do to the numerator, I have to do to the denominator. Well, the same thing is true with long division, with any kind of division, because again, remember, dividing is just a fraction. So I am essentially doing the same thing. I am taking my original problem, 2.5 into 15, and what I'm doing is I'm multiplying numerator and denominator, in this case divisor and dividend, by 10, moving the decimal point one place and moving the decimal point one place, and in this case I have to add a 0 because I don't have a place to move it. And so this becomes this. And so now what am I going to do? I'm just going to divide, again, as if they were whole numbers. So 25, well, let's put that decimal point in the quotient. 25 does not go into 1, 25 does not go into 15. But 25 goes into 156 times. And 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 2 is 12, 13, 14, 15. And so I know that this is going to be 6. Now, if you want to check it, which you should do, you can just multiply 6 times 2.5. Remember, we do not have to line up the decimal point in multiplication. 6 times 2 is 12. Okay, that's going to tell me where to put my decimal point. 6 5s are 30. 6 2s are 12, and 3 is 15. And where's the only place to put my decimal point so that this answer makes sense? Right there. And so you see your check works out. So now that was used as an explanation. And again, sometimes a lot of words get in the way. Let's see what we can do without all those words, now that we've kind of justified what we're going to do. I'm going to rewrite this. Okay, so this is the divisor, and 0.2 is my dividend. Now, what I'm going to do, going back to the fractions, I'm going to multiply my divisor by a power of 10 so that I can move the decimal point 3 places in order to make the divisor a whole number. Because, look, if I wrote this as a fraction, see, that would be 0.2 over 0.005. I would need to multiply this by 1,000 over 1,000 so that I can move that decimal point 3 places. So that would give me a denominator of 5 and a numerator of 200. And that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to move my decimal point, and this is the key. So when you divide decimals, you have to move the decimal point enough places so that your divisor is a whole number. In this case, 1, 2, 3 places. And so I have to move the dividend same amount, 1, 2, 3 places, and up we go with the decimal point, and here we go. Now, once I move that decimal point, we forget about this, okay? And we forget about this. So if you want to rewrite this, this now becomes 200 divided by 5. And 5 doesn't go into 2, it goes into 24 times. And bring down the 0 and pop it up there to hold the place. And so our answer is going to be 40. Let's check. All right, so I want to multiply 40 times 0.005, because when we check, we go back to the original problem. Okay, hold the ones place. 4 times 5 is 20. And now remember, I didn't estimate because this is 0.005 is a low number. It's a really small number, so it's hard to estimate. But 40 has no decimal places to the right of the decimal point. 5 thousandths has 3, so I have to start at the back. 1, 2, 3, and this is where I put my decimal point. This is where the decimal point is. So, again, to sum up, in order to divide with a decimal divisor, you simply move the decimal point in the divisor the number of places so that you can get yourself a whole number, and then whatever you do to the divisor, you have to do to the dividend. Just like in fractions, whatever you do to the denominator, you must do to the numerator. And that is really the only trick of dividing with decimals.